So this is a bit of an unplanned project. As you might know, bird flu is back and it's kind of sweeping through Europe, and as a precaution the UK has told all poultry keepers or domestic bird keepers that you have to keep them indoors or away from wild birds for the foreseeable future. And it was going to be a 4-week period. They've just extended that to the end of February. So basically for the next 2 months, if you have chickens, ducks, geese, turkeys, you cannot keep them outside, or you're certainly not meant to, which means you've got to confine them either to indoors in, you know, barns or stables, or in kind of a chicken run or whatever where wild birds can't get in. So we've got some grumpy chickens here. They're getting pretty fed up already, but I'll give you a quick look at what I've managed to put together. So these poor birds are in a bit of a shack of an enclosure at the moment. Both at this house and the last house, I made sure that, you know, we've got somewhere that if we go away for the night or for the weekend, there's a fox-proof run or aviary to leave them in. And that kind of takes the pressure off kind of needing to get back every day to lock them up before dark. But it's come into its own now because they can still have a bit of free ranging within there and keep in line with the whole keeping them away from wild birds. But I'll give you a look inside and you'll see what the problem is. Put it together just using this fencing, which is fine. It's going to keep out any predators, but it is too large, this gauge, to keep out all wild birds. If they really wanted to get in there, they could. So I may have to wrap it with some windbreak should we need to, should we have a problem with anything getting in. Because it was just a wired roof, the rain was coming down in here, it was building up, we're at the bottom of the lawn as well, and it was just becoming a bit swampy, and it was just not good. Most of the dirt was being carried into the sort of mud was being carried through into the chicken house. That was getting on the eggs, it was just all a bit nasty. So I laid down a load of wood shavings. I think really long term, this is going to be another 2 months at least, according to the government, so we'll need to get some wood chip down in here. I think that'll help. But what I did is I bought some white tarpaulin and I've laid that over the roof, and that's going to keep the majority of the kind of rain out. Still building up on top, so I need to sort out a bit of a pitch, although it's slightly sloped, it's kind of pooling on top, so we'll sort that out, and that has improved it. It's certainly keeping the house cleaner. So the birds are going to be in here now. They're not going to be out foraging around the garden. They're not going to be kind of getting the bugs and the greenery that they need. So I'm going to have to try and give them something to do. So I'm going to start hanging some greens from the roof here to give them something to peck at. I don't really like just throwing the scraps in here. We've only got 3 chickens now. The 2 bigger boys went in the freezer before Christmas. But the problem is, you know, if you have a build-up of waste from the kitchen or just peelings and things like that, there's other vermin like rats and stuff which can get in here and cause other problems. So by hanging it up, it just gives them something to peck at, and if they don't eat it, then it just hangs up until the next day. The ducks are the ones that get the grumpiest because they love just getting out, having a flap around, having a run around the lawn, and then we give them a bigger pond out on the grass there. So I've had to rig up a temporary pond for them. It's fine, it's big enough, but again, it can cause a bit of kind of muddiness around there. So it's going to be a case of keeping on top of that. Alright, so that's just going to be a constant job, I think, just keeping on top of that water or ice even that's pooling up on top of there. So I don't know how many of our subscribers are even chicken keepers or have any birds of their own, but I just thought I'd kind of give you a little insight into what we're dealing with here in the UK and how you know, people are having to change how they keep their birds, unfortunately, just as a precaution really. But it has been found actually within kind of 50 miles of here, there's been a case, I think it was a wild bird, which was found to have it, but there are tens, if not hundreds of thousands of birds having to be culled because of it. So it does make sense to stay in line with what the government is suggesting. But that's how we've done it. So at least they've got something to roam around in and kind of keep themselves occupied to a certain extent. I don't know how some of the big farms are doing it. You know, big farms that have got thousands of birds free ranging normally. I don't know if they're even geared up to have all those birds indoors 24/7. So it must be a pretty hard thing to sort out. You know, having 5 birds here has been hard enough work to keep on top of that, but it must be pretty hard going when you've got big flocks of commercial flocks outside, or that should be outside. So there are a couple of improvements to make. I've got to sort out that pond for the ducks, just so we've got continual kind of fresh water down there, in a way that it kind of is more automatic. And we'll just try and make it a bit more fun for them in there, get a bit more green in there. Unfortunately, nothing's growing in the garden, so it's not like I can just rip out veg from the garden, or even put in grass cuttings, because there simply isn't any. So the odd head of lettuce from the supermarket might have to do it. So that's it for this video. These guys are tucking into a bit of spinach, but we'll give you a bit of an update in a few weeks' time, see how we're getting on down here, and try and give them a bit more to do and keep them entertained. This Silky's struggling the most. She soaks up water like a sponge, so it's quite important to keep her dry. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.